Welcome to the second webinar that we're having for the Scholarship Bootcamp here at 𝐶𝐍𝐍𝐻. We are excited that you are able to join us. And right about now, I'm going to go straight into introducing us to why we are here, right? So while we wait, while we see others coming in, we're just going to head straight up because we have a really packed, guys, it's packed. So in case if you forgot your writing materials, this is like I'm giving you like 60 seconds. I'm counting 60 seconds to get all your writing materials ready. Get it ready, your pen, your jotters, and please, your questions, right? So as we go into the session, if you have a question, do not wait until the end. Just kindly drop it, and I trust us, we're going to take and handle them, okay? Also kindly note that our host will be handling the Q&A session. So guys, if you were not here last webinar, our host Bitri is an amazing person. You won't have to be reading and communicating those questions. Trust me, even your deepest questions that maybe you didn't even relate it properly. She knows how to get it all out, right? All right, so let's quickly get into the webinar for today. All right, so our first speaker for today is Mr. 𝐒𝐏𝐄𝐂𝐈𝐀𝐋 Christopher. 𝐒𝐏𝐄𝐂𝐈𝐀𝐋 Christopher is a PhD student in materials at Imperial College London. He graduated top of his class with a first class honors in mechanical engineering from �NAMDI Azikiwe University, Nigeria. Wow. He earned 3 master's degrees. Guys, guys, can you hear that? 3, not 1, not 2, 3. You guys are in for a ride. All with first class honors. Sir, we are coming in mechanics engineering, jointly awarded by Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology and the Pan-African University Institute for Basic Sciences. Okay, for Basic Sciences, Technology and Innovation, fully funded by the African Union Scholarship. Wow. In material science at Imperial College London, fully funded by the Commonwealth Scholarship, and in data science and analytics at Muster Technology University, Ireland, fully funded by the Government of Ireland International Education Scholarship, where he graduated top of his class. He has received multiple awards that reflect his academic excellence, leadership, and social responsibility. He has also served as a full-time lecturer at Landmark University and Bowen University, Nigeria. He has successfully guided many candidates, particularly Africans, to secure fully funded international scholarships. I don't know about you, but after that bio, I'm like, I'm not just going to be an aspiring scholar after today's webinar. I'm going to become a full scholar with fully funded scholarship. So guys, let's quickly welcome our speaker. And then our second speaker for the webinar is David Michael. Remember, they are both going to be speaking about Commonwealth Masters Scholarship. Let me quickly read through David's bio. David Michael is a PhD student in clinical medicine at the University of Oxford and Vice President Institutional Relations of the Oxford University Biotech Society. He holds a first-class degree in biochemistry from the University of Benin, Nigeria, and a distinction-level master's in human molecular genetics from Imperial College London. He has research experience as a research assistant at the University of Bath and the University of Oxford, and has received several scholarships and awards, including the prestigious Commonwealth Masters Scholarship, in recognition of his academic excellence and leadership potential. Passionate about mentorship, he actively supports students, particularly from underrepresented backgrounds, in accessing global opportunities, helping to empower the next generation of African innovators. If you're not too busy, join me as we welcome our speakers for tonight. Thank you so much.
Over to you, Mr. 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿.
Hi, hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I hope you can hear me clearly. Okay, great. Let me share my screen right away. Yeah, can you see my screen, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So today will be, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's not taken for granted, and I just want us to know that everything we're going to be discussing today might not necessarily be new. I mean, the only difference is just to share some level of experience that we have. Pretty much everything that you know about scholarship, there is really no new information as such. So, going straight into the business of the day, we're here to talk about how to develop a clear scholarship application strategy. And a little about me. So I'm 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿, which Faith has rightly introduced. Thank you so much for that. And I am an academic. I've been in full-time lecturing for over 4 years now and had my bachelor's in UNIZIK sponsored by the MTN Foundation. And currently I'm doing a PhD in material science with a focus on mechanical metamaterials. And this is funded by the Bate Fellowship for Scientific Research. And prior to my PhD study, I have had these scholarships from Irish government, Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, a Pan African University Scholarship, the PASET ICIPE Scholarship. It may interest you to know that I'm a Christian and I'm a Catholic. And some of my hobbies involves taking some weird risks, traveling and embracing nature as well. So, yeah, with that, let's just go into the main business. That's just a little about me. Yeah, so things to bear in mind if you intend, I mean, we all here, right here, we all intend securing one or more scholarships. And it's essential to bear this in mind. But please, this information is not for highly connected people that don't necessarily need to go through the process. All they need is just to submit their names and they get their offers. So if you're one of those highly connected people, you can just take a bow and maybe go do something else. But for we that we're not highly connected, I want us to bear in mind that for you to start this scholarship journey, you must be ready. And readiness alone comes with a lot of things. You have to be humble, you have to be true to yourself, essentially. You really have to be true to yourself because that honesty comes from within. You have to tell yourself the truth. You really need to know where you need to apply to and where you're not supposed to go to. All right. And as well, readiness comes with a lot of resilience and determination because this whole scholarship process is challenging, is difficult. It's time consuming because you have to prepare your essays, you have to plan, you have to review, and then you have to apply. But at the end of the day, it comes with a lot of rewards and fulfillment, especially when you've secured the scholarship. So just bear this in mind that it's not for the faint-hearted because you might be getting a lot of rejections. I mean, rejection is not failure; it's just a gradual step to success. So just bear that in mind. Essentially, you need to know these things. Many people give up along the line because they can't deal with rejection. So always remember this. Why strategy matters. It is important that you apply some level of strategy, because if you don't, you end up having random applications, and random applications comes with rushed essays, generic profile, and wasted efforts. Trust me. And at the end of the day, you just get sad and you even get confused. And if you're lucky, some of your random applications might finally grant you that scholarship or whatever you've applied for, in very rare cases. And in at that time, you have what we call confusion, and you might end up settling for less. But if you're intentional, if you're highly intentional about your applications, you're focused, and you align your applications clearly and very well in line with what you want, you'll be able to make a competitive application. Because right now, applications are getting even more competitive, I must tell you. Especially now in the age of AI and a lot of things, competition is on the rise. So if you have a strategic application, you will definitely reduce the uncertainties for sure. So when you spend your time making your applications, you will be sure that when you get this, you're going for it. You're not settling for less. You're actually settling for what you have intentionally applied for. And now, obviously, if you have your random applications or your strategic applications, the committee will always and clearly spot these applications. They can tell someone who has maybe written or made the applications through generic way, because how do committees spot the difference between a well aligned application from just a random rushed application? It's just by generic and personalization. If you have a generic application, you will definitely be spotted. And if you've got personalized, that is what they are looking for. So if you're making generic applications, I think depending on the kind of thing you're applying to, if you're applying for reputable scholarship from reputable bodies, there's no point. You just end up wasting your time. So by generic and personalization, I have a few paragraphs from my Commonwealth essays. And this one is about the detailed study plan. So in one of my paragraphs, I clearly stated why I needed to do this material science. Remember, I already had a first master's in mechatronics. So for me to get another master's, I really need to convince them. So you really need to be personal with what you're trying to sell to them. So come out plain and try to make it personal and not generic. So in this place, I learned a lesson from my previous masters that actually heightened my curiosity and inspired me to pursue this career in material science. And that's as simple as it is. Now, if you're talking about generic paragraph where you're just blowing unnecessary grammar, where you're speaking about engineering systems can be optimized and designed. Okay, this understanding strengthens my interest. What understanding? Like, okay, how? How is that personal? So you need to make your essays, you need to actually personalize your essays, share your truth, share your own personal experience, make it personal. Another instance here is the second paragraph of the detailed study plan. Why I actually wanted to, this is the point I was trying to explain further why I needed to do this. And clearly, most material science researchers and scientists in Nigeria, in most cases, send samples abroad for characterization, which is bad. Which is bad. This is my own personal experience, and I'm speaking precisely about Nigeria. A generic essay, if you, for those that do things with AI right now, especially when you just tell AI to, give you The AI would definitely grant you those essays, but it doesn't know you. AI really doesn't know you and can make things personal, really. So that's where you come into play. This generic essay here is showing developing nations, several countries. No, you have to be precise. And in the paragraph, the personalized paragraph, there we can see the Nigeria and the reason why I wanted to embark on that journey. Another essay here, another paragraph as well. We can see how again, towards the end, I tried to link back material science with my previous MSc in mechatronics, how to understand the intersection between these two domains. And I went ahead to speak about some future, like long-term vision, long-term goals, which is essential. And if you look at the generic paragraph, it's just generic. The committee won't find that passion, that personalization. And from there, your application will be shifted and they move on to the next person. So it's important to bear these things in mind, especially when you're writing your essays. So now the fundamental steps, I would say, I mean, this list is not exhaustive. You can always introduce many things. You can even shrink it and factor in a lot of points into these steps. If you want to start this journey, the first thing you do is to get your passport. First and foremost, get your passport. And in the process of getting your passport, trying to process that, you start connecting with like minds. Join groups aligning with your goal, just like you've joined 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿. And there you'll be able to share your goals, share your interest, gain more information, and know how to apply. And when connecting with like minds and groups is a simultaneous process, because while doing that, you have to identify your interest, your specific area of interest. When you're able to identify your area of interest, that will save you a lot of stress, especially when it comes to the number of essays you want to write. Because I know a lot of people that will literally write essays, like applying for different courses. Somebody is applying in arts, economics, cybersecurity, computer science. You're just going to get yourself burnt out. Focus on cybersecurity, for instance, or focus somewhere and just identify your interest. That will help you now to narrow down to the country. The choice of country again now is becoming complex, because while choosing your country, you need to also consider a lot of other factors. It could be family related, it could be immigration related, it could be some of the future potentials or the need-based relation. So you identify your interest, choose your country, and from there, you start finding schools in the country, find scholarships in that country. Look for funding opportunities in your country of choice. And while you're doing that, for each school you find or for each scholarship you find, one of the most important things people neglect is reading through the requirements. It must be a thorough reading. You need to read, digest, read again and digest and understand. That place you would know, and you'll be true to yourself to know if you're eligible to apply or not. Some people, after reading the eligibility requirements, they clearly know that they are not eligible, and they still go ahead to apply. And after you say you're rejected. So it is important that you read those requirements, the instructions, everything about that. And then once you're satisfied with what you've read and you're like, okay, I think I'm a good fit for this, you take the school and then you start gathering the documents. We all know the documents, the essays, your credentials, and most importantly, your reference. So make sure that while you were completing your bachelor's degree, you would have built amazing relationships with your professors. You would have also led an exemplary character because you need these references. Many people have lost their opportunities just because of terrible recommendation letters. You might have aced everything. Maybe you might even have a first class or whatever. But if you have a bad recommendation letter, forget about it. You're losing that opportunity. And then the next thing is to review your documents. And that's where you have to send this document to 2, 3 people to go through the documents. And of course, don't expect, just be open-minded. And your humility also comes into play. Be humble enough to ask. Be humble enough to accept feedback. And that will be good for you at the end of the day. So when you apply this feedback and then maybe send it again for an extra review, then you're ready to apply. You will now understand that you have done the necessary things. And as I said earlier, ask reasonable questions, apply all the feedback, and then you can submit your application. If you believe in God Almighty, pray alongside your hard work. Don't just say that you pray without working hard. It doesn't work. He's not a magician. Now, for Commonwealth scholarships, simple tips. You must be up to date with in the CSC website, the SDGs, and the statistics involved. You need to digest everything, essentially. And of course, as said earlier, your essays must be personalized and not generic. Be consistent and coherent. Your goals must be SMART, as you can see, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, realistic, and time-bound. Don't just give goals that unrealistic goals. And of course, you apply the STAR approach in explaining your essays. You've got 11 essays in total. Don't exceed your word limit. Make your essays simple and easy to read. You must have your draft. You really need to start early. These essays are crazily long and you need to start early. Understand your area of interest so that you can speak on it, essentially. Don't let AI write your story. You can use tools like Grammarly or whatever to refine your sentences. And make sure you have 2 to 3 good eyes review your essays. These are just tips that you need to know. Now, scholarship tracking system. As you know, there are lots of scholarships. There are lots of deadlines. And if you pay careful attention, you will realize that these scholarships, they always have like a consistent deadline year by year. So over time, you'll be able to understand when the scholarship opens and when it ends. So, and that's why you have to do this tracking with either your calendar or whatever you prefer. Way back, I did a lot of manual tracking. I was writing on my paper, and I try to look at it every day. Now, things are way better. Now you can use your calendars and set some reminders and alerts to tell you things that you have to do or remind you, because the world is getting crazy. People are getting busy. It's so easy to forget. But if you're intentional, you will always remember that there's something you have to do. Uh, Sometimes when you have a lot of relaxation, you start wondering, why am I feeling too relaxed? Is it that I don't have something to do? So make sure that you're on your toes to observe and look at your calendar and what you've set to do. And of course, you have to organize these things by deadlines. This is subjective, literally. It's up to you. However, that works for you to set and organize your calendar based on the eligibility or competitiveness or deadline as you wish, please do so. A typical example of this is as shown here. You prepare your essays. Your calendar can be filled up as you want. It is up to you. But in case of PhDs, you have your time to search for your supervisors, and you also have the time to email your supervisors. You have time to prepare your essays. You have time to do a lot of things. But make sure that all these things come right before the scholarship deadline. That will be the last thing. Make sure that you have every single thing ready before the scholarship deadline. And that's why I said it's time consuming, it is challenging, it is difficult, and it is so easy to give up. Now, how do you plan without burnout? I think I've said something about this before. You really need to set realistic timelines, basically. And you need to be true to yourself. If you read eligibility requirements and see that you're not eligible for that, move on. Look for something else. Don't accumulate 60 deadlines. No, one at a time. Just be realistic. You have time to prepare. For those aiming to go to the US, you have your GRE to write. You've got other proficiency exams to write, like TOEFL, IELTS. You've got your references. You've got your supervision. You've got a lot of things. So you need to set realistic timelines. And please, as I said earlier, try to focus on a particular domain. Don't have different domains because that will burn you out. You literally have to have a new essay for this domain. So if you're in computer science, focus on that so that your essays, because many people apply to a couple of universities for the Commonwealth Scholarship. In my time, I only applied to one. I wanted just one, and I only applied to Imperial, and I had only one application. So all my energy and effort, I channeled everything to that single application. People apply to a lot, and sometimes they get 2, 3, 4 scholarship. Offers, and they just have to choose one. So save yourselves the stress and try to make things easier for yourselves. And of course, you have to start early to avoid last minute panic, and then prioritize your scholarships with earlier deadlines that you're eligible for, essentially. So, as said earlier, for you to tailor and align your application, you need to research the mission and values of each scholarship. I've said that over and over again, which is important. And then you have to align your profile. If your Commonwealth application is asking for more leadership potentials, align your profile in that way. If Chevening is asking for leadership or social impact, align your profile. Get yourself properly aligned and intentional. Using mirror languages, for instance, in Commonwealth applications, there's an emphasis on SDGs. Ensure that at some point you're speaking about how you're going to impact in those SDGs. Common mistakes everyone makes sometimes: applying to every scholarship without focus. That's more or less like random application. You don't need to apply to every scholarship at all. You don't need to. If you're intentional and do the necessary things I've stated earlier, you don't need to apply to every scholarship. Many people submit identical essays for different schemes. Depending on what that is, it could be in your favor and it could mar you as well. So you need to read and understand that. Ignoring less popular scholarships. Yeah, many people, we don't only just have DAD, Erasmus, Commonwealth, and Chevening. There's a lot of scholarships. A typical example: during my bachelor's in UNIZIK, when I got the MTN scholarship, somebody got a scholarship called MUSTE, MUSTEE. I've never heard of that. MUSTE scholarship. That's my very good friend. He secured that scholarship. So it is also essential for you to look for other less popular scholarship. That, I mean, you might be so lucky you don't have to like compete with a lot of people because it's not popular, and you secure yourself a space and start your graduate life. Another mistake people make is poor time management. Procrastination is one annoying fellow that roams about in almost everyone's life, and we need to tackle that. So it's essential to manage your time. Remember that you're busy with other things, and you also need to maximize your application, as well as following up. Yeah, you need to follow up with your referees. And that's why I said earlier, build that relationship today. For those that are still trying to finish up with their bachelor's, make sure that you're living an exemplary life. Have amazing relationship with your professors, because you need all of that. For those of you looking at, you're currently working somewhere, your referees will come from your place of appointment. So make sure that wherever you find yourself, you are behaving well, so that having your recommendation letters won't be a problem for you in the future. Now, how do you turn rejections into strategy? As you know, rejections are feedback and not failure. As a matter of fact, I always like taking advice from people that have failed so well, because each time you consider yourself that you failed or rejected, you only pick yourself back, polish yourself again, and try again. So rejections are feedback, not just failure. If you're rejected, don't think that, oh, the worst has happened to you. No, 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 not that. Pick yourself up, apply the feedback that you've gotten, and reapply. If you've got essays, you make sure that you apply those feedback in your essays. I will tell you, for my Commonwealth scholarship, when I applied, so this is what I did. Very straightforward. I had what I wanted, yes. Then I found two people. I found two people that already secured that scholarship. And I kindly and humbly requested for their essays for a guide. And that's what I used as my template. Of course, those guys were in different domain areas, not even in any field related to mine. But I used that as a template.
Sorry, sir. We have to
Yeah.
wrap up. We have to wrap up for the next
Oh,
speaker.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow. 8:36. I'm sorry. Oh
No
my
worry.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just take note of that. Find people who have won these scholarships and ask them to share you their essays. Of course, you don't have to copy, just use that as a guide. Every note brings you closer to the right yes. Practical tools you need, of course, you need your peer review, you need mentorship groups, you need essay banks. Make sure you keep an eye on this official scholarship website to guide you and to keep yourself up to date. And finally, closing call to actions. Remember, scholarship doesn't go to the best student, but the best prepared applicants. Make sure you start your tracking today, plan early, and apply strategically. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry for being 7 minutes past my time. God bless you all.
No worries. Thank you so much. Can we just say a very big thank you on our YouTube channel? to our speaker, thanking him for this very, very valuable information and content he has shared. And I was really so impacted by your story. So a lot of the times that, when our speakers share their stories, it's always very, very relatable. And it actually shows that a lot of persons are actually going through the same thing. So I'm very sure that a lot of our audience have been encouraged and impacted. So sorry, do you mind stop sharing your screen? So I could. Great,
Sorry.
thank you.
Sorry.
All right, so I'll call up on the stage Mr. David Chibuzo-Michael to take us up on the next session of the bootcamp. Thank you, and the stage is yours, Mr. David.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I believe that my screen is currently sharing. Cool.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Chibuka. What you shared is so spot on. I really wish, it's making me want to start becoming a scholar again. You know that feeling? You're a scholar, you have gotten the scholarship, but sharing it, thinking about all those experiences, you want to go, of course, I don't want to go back and relive it, but it just brings me pleasant memories, right? And this, at some point, I just want to say this before I get on with my presentation. At some point, I got so into this whole scholarship application to the extent where I said, even if I end up not getting a scholarship, the process of applying for this scholarship has made me a better person. I became more self-aware. I became more visionary. I became more intentional about my life, really. Because, for instance, applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship, for example, will make you think about your life. You get to write lots of essays, close to 10 different essays in different ways: voluntary experience, personal experience, development, impact. We will be talking about them shortly. But then, by the time I was done writing a number of those essays, I saw my life like I had to develop a proper vision for my life. That's how some of these essays or this scholarship application and prepare you for life, actually. And I need to say this, right? The way some of these scholarship applications are designed, they are designed to bring the best out of you and to also help you build a certain level of a visionary and an intentional approach to your studies. For example, some of the essays you would have to write, some of the stories you would have to say, some of the plans you tell the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, for example, if you're applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship, you might not eventually implement them. People know that plans can change. Nobody will come and say that, oh, 5 years ago, when you apply for this Commonwealth Scholarship, you said you were going to do this at the university of this, da 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 da. Now you're not doing anything. Nobody will hold you to that because they know that plans will change. But giving yourself to the application process genuinely shapes your thought process and makes you better. And that's something I really need us to enjoy. I am saying this because it's very important. Applying for scholarship will take a mental toll on you. Like, it's a lot of work. And so you want to find a way to enjoy the process as you get along with it. I try personally not to do things that I can't enjoy. And if I have to do it, I have to find a way to enjoy it so that I can get the best out of it. So that's why, my wife and some friends of mine have often told me that I bring a lot of passion into many things that I do. It's intentional. Because if I cannot get myself to be excited about what I'm doing, I cannot communicate it, and it will reflect in your essay. Sometimes when you read people's essay, again, this might be subtle, you might not really know, but when you read people's essay, you can tell that they are sad, they are moody. I can't feel the energy from their writing. I can't see that they really want this. That is just me introducing myself. So my name is David, by the way. I'm currently doing a PhD program in clinical medicine with a specific focus on cancer research at the University of Oxford with the Ludwig Cancer Research Institute. Before now, so that is on a fully funded scholarship internal to the University of Oxford, right? But before now, I did my master's program at Imperial College London, and of course that's where I got to meet Chibuka. So, but then I got the Commonwealth Masters Scholarship specifically for that application, and I'm going to be sharing a number of things to help you ace the Commonwealth Scholarship application. A little deep dive into some of the essays. I might not have enough time to talk about it, depending on your questions, right? So let the questions come in, depending on what questions you want to ask. Then we can address specifics. But I'm just going to go over some of the essays and tips to help you ace it. So I'm going to skip through this because my friend Chibuka already mentioned some of them. Just some key documentation you need for the Commonwealth Scholarship application. Now, if you're applying, again, there are many different type of Commonwealth application. There is the Commonwealth Masters, Commonwealth PhD, split side scholarship, fellowship. There are many, but I'm not going to go too much into them because I think next 2 weeks, someone else is going to be talking about the Commonwealth Shared Scholarships, and they're going to be giving a deep dive into that. And ideally, Commonwealth Shared Scholarship opens up after they close Commonwealth Masters. So I think Commonwealth Masters and PhD Scholarship right now will end on the 14th of October. But further down, I think few weeks or maybe in that same week, I can't remember exactly when, they will probably open Commonwealth Shared. So you want to be prepared for that. And the good news is it's the same type of essays. So you should cash in on that. I don't want to go into that because you get 2 weeks time, more people will share that with you. But if I were you, I will start preparing for Commonwealth Shared even as I am applying and preparing to submit for my Commonwealth Masters or PhD scholarship. Although shared is specifically for masters though. So if you are doing PhD, this is your only shot with the Commonwealth application. So yeah, obviously you need your personal statement, and it's important because you need this to apply to different schools. Now, unlike 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿, I did quite apply to a number of schools. I wasn't so, there sometimes it's good that you understand your unique situation, right? You know that your profile is heavy enough, and you know that your chances of getting some of these scholarships are significantly high. For me, I didn't want to dabble into that risk. So I actually applied to multiple schools. I did my application to Imperial, I did my application to Glasgow University, I did my application to Manchester University. And you need personal statements to do all of this application as well. Yeah, so those things are important. So you need these documentations to get all of to get into those universities and get admission. Now, this is what it is, right? I don't know. This might be too late for some people, but I preferred to apply for those universities, get the admission before the deadline for Commonwealth Scholarship, so that as I'm applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship, I am uploading my conditional offers. And that's what I did. I got at least 2 conditional offers before the deadline for the scholarship. So again, because the challenge with that is when you get the scholarship and you don't get admission, let's say for instance you focus only on, let's say, Imperial, which is very competitive, right? Or you want to go to Cambridge University, which is also very competitive, and you have not gotten your admission yet, and that's the only school you mentioned. If the deadline ends, you might not get a chance. Actually, even if you get the scholarship and you don't have the scholarship admission, you have lost it. So why take the risk, right? So that's why you want to spread the risk sometimes across different uni. Go for highly competitive, less competitive, and maybe least competitive, just to increase your chances. You've got 3 slots anyway. You could decide to use it. It's your choice. Again, it will take a certain level of effort. If you're ready to put in the work, why not do it? I don't want to undermine the importance of references because it's a very important documentation you need for your universities and also for Commonwealth. And for Commonwealth Scholarship, they ask for at least 3 references. If you have an academic reference, put it. If you've got a professional reference from your place of work, you need it. And maybe a reference from a mentor who can attest to your character and good conduct. That is very important. Now, I want to quickly flip from this screen to show you something that I found with, sorry, let me quickly dive into the, sorry, this is distracting me. So I don't know if you can still see my screen. I specifically highlighted some of the guidelines that Commonwealth shared about your referee somewhere here. You said, so let me start from this, and it's very important. Say when completing the references, referees should be asked to comment as fully as possible on the applicants, keeping in mind the following points for inclusion as appropriate. Now, before I go into what I'm about to read, I need to say this. How much or whether or not you're going to get a scholarship depend on how much effort and details you have given into the application process. And 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿 mentioned it very excellently. It was like, you have to read the eligibility criteria. You have to know every scholarship has got a theme. There is a focus to every scholarship that you apply for. For example, when we talked about, I think you guys were here, maybe some of you attended the last 2 weeks when the people that spoke about Chevening Scholarship spoke. You know that Chevening has a specific focus towards people that have got leadership potential. And the fact, the more work experience you have, the better your chances of getting Chevening Scholarship. Because somewhere in the application process, they make you state your 2 years long experience. But Commonwealth, for example, they might not be so focused on, people that have got lots of professional experience and all of that. But it's more about the development impact of your program. How much of what you are going to be studying can help you develop your home country. So stop telling me, if first you have failed or you have missed out completely on Commonwealth Scholarship, if you are telling me how the course you are going to apply for is going to shape the world and help UK become better, probably because you think UK is funding it, and you're like, oh, I need to restructure the UK educational institution. By applying for this course, I would be able to come in fact, compete and become the next Prime Minister of UK. sorry to say that. That is not the focus, okay? The whole idea is get to study something that is relevant to helping you build your home country. And that's what they encourage you to go back home, you know? So those things are very, very key. So you want to find a unique program and get your referees to comment about this. Sorry, you're already missing the point. If you just use a generic, and again, Chibuka mentioned it excellently. You know, you need to celebrate the value you are getting from this this bootcamp. But let's get back to the topic of focus, okay? Because your people feel like sometimes, okay, I've made a first class, that is enough for me to get a scholarship. I've got 10 years work experience enough to make me get a scholarship. Should I shock you? Maybe not. This might not be a shock for many of you. There are marking scheme to these things, and every single section of your application, including your essays, there are points. They help contribute to the overall grade you might score at the end of the assessment. So things like your references, how specific they are, are they addressing this topic? Now, see, for example, these are some of the things they highlighted. I don't know if you've seen this. How long and in what capacity your referees know you find, this is generic, the referee's view on the applicant's suitability for the proposed scholarship and the need for the particular subject of study in the UK. Then see information on how and to what extent the applicant has shown ability in terms of what capacity to grab concepts and reasonable capacity for original thought and motivation. Okay. See the applicant's potential to impact development in their home country. I specifically wanted to highlight this. So that's why when I communicate to my referees, I'm not just saying, oh, I want to apply for Commonwealth Scholarship. Can you write me a reference? Write anything. And and sometimes you address it to whom it may concern. What is all that? Come on, guys. You apply for Commonwealth Scholarship, address it to CSC, find their address online, specifically address it. Don't use generic references and communicate these details to your referees. For instance, one of my professors back at uni, he specifically dedicated a section in my application commenting on how relevant the program I'm going to be studying is to the Nigeria, right? Because I'm also from Nigeria. And those things give you an edge. I don't want to focus too much on that, but we cannot overemphasize the importance of getting strategic quality references. Okay, so valid passports, I won't say that. Academic transcripts and certificates, you already know this. If you're at this stage applying for Commonwealth Scholarship already, you should be aware of all of these things. However, for masters, for PhD though, there is a little extra focus. Again, most of the essays are the same. It's just full research proposal, abstract methods, and supervisor engagement / evidence. That is an extra thing you have to do for the PhD. But generally, most of the essays are the same. Okay, so a general overview really. So what are the eligibility criteria? Yeah. So you have to be a citizen from a Commonwealth country. And you do know the funny thing, I realized that not all the people that can apply for Commonwealth Masters can apply for Commonwealth PhD, because I think for Commonwealth PhD, the number of eligible countries reduced to specifically countries that are least developed / vulnerable. Okay, so Nigeria is still a part of it for those of you that are also from Nigeria, but you want to double check this just in case maybe somewhere in the future, or if you are currently applying for PhD. Commonwealth does not fund MBA, okay? The Commonwealth Masters does not fund MBA. It has to be taught masters for like 1 year, so bear that in mind. If you have a first degree, a first class, minimum 2-1, that is a very good result. And even if you have a 2-2, you can apply. It's there on CSC's website, but you must have at least significant, that feeling. So this is how I need to ask you this, right? Maybe think about it. Tell me who you are going to give this scholarship. Someone that has got a first class, got all A's, but then no significant work experience. The references are poor. Maybe the essays are a bit okay. And then someone with 2-2, but he's got like significant work experience. Let's say like 5 years significant work experience in that field he wants to study. He's got quality references from people who can attest, and probably he has evidence with publications or materials to show his groundedness in that field. Now, at the end of the essay, you think these people are not wise? At the end of this process, who do you think will get the scholarship? I would obviously prefer the person with a 2-2 because he's got more evidence. Other components of his essays or his application process complement the fact that probably he doesn't have sufficient, maybe strong academic background. So don't be too reliant on the fact that you've got a first class. It is good, it gives you an edge, but you have to make sure that you highlight and you pay attention to these other extra details. They bring the icing to the cake. And CSC has got 6 development teams. I know you must be aware of this. You want to make sure your program aligns with one or 2 of these particular teams. I don't want to go into it because it's pretty obvious. Now, what are the selection process? It's also important that you keep this in mind even as you're applying. They are looking for candidates with merit, including academic experience, And this is very important. The second one is very important. What is the potential impact on the development of the candidate's home country? This thing you want to study, this program you want to study, is it a significant need in your home country? And can you demonstrate it? Do you have evidence to show? And do you have maybe experiences? It could be voluntary experiences to show that you are already committed to making impact in that field. It could be that maybe, for example, maybe you want to study a program that pertains to maybe climate change or as it were, right? And maybe you are concerned because maybe in your particular area there's no clean water or something like that, and you have been volunteering in NGOs that facilitate the development of water for rural areas, and now you want to study a program like maybe health and climate impact in something sustainability. I'm just saying, you want to be able to show that both your experiences and everything make you a strong candidate for that program, right? That's why all of those things really matter. Okay, I won't want to focus more on the master's emphasis and the PhD emphasis. You must probably have read it. So now, what about completing the master's and PhD application form? What are some of the key things you would see? Because of time, I might not be able to delve into the details, but I will just give you a general overview. So there is a part of the application form. I believe if you're applying for this scholarship, you should have seen this already. But for those of you who are joining this webinar, just to get an overall insight into what the application process is like, okay, this might be useful. So you want to start by listing all your undergraduate and postgraduate university qualifications that you have obtained. There's a section in that form. Commonwealth has a section for up to 10 publications and prizes. If you have won an academic award, do this. Now, these things matter. And I'm just going to say this, right? So in Commonwealth Masters or PhD application, one of the essential criteria to getting the scholarship, outside getting admission, applying for the scholarship itself, is you need to select a nomination agency. Okay, nomination agency. What is this? Some of you already know it, and you're like, should I go with the Federal Scholarship Board in my country, or should I go with an NGO? It's all about how you can meet the eligibility criteria of those nomination agencies, right? So, for instance, my nomination agency, the one I chose was Federal Scholarship Board, because I wasn't sure how to meet the eligibility criteria of other ones. So I decided to take the risk with Federal Scholarship Board. There are extra things that they require, including, for example, in my home country, there's something called National Youth Service Corps. It's a program we do compulsorily after graduation. They require that certificate. So you needed to have finished your program, compulsorily done your service for that process, or at least be in the process of completing your NYC, so that you can come with the certificate during the interview. So I went for the interview, and guess what? Luckily for me, I was in a specific room with medical doctors, because the program I wanted to study then, for some reason, I chose Manchester University, and the title of that program was genomic medicine. So I was sent to the room with medical doctors. And the truth is, they were asking for two specific things outside. Again, I don't know what it's going to be like for you, but this is my own experience, right? They were asking for two specific things. Outside the fact that you made a first class, a distinction, they asked for two things. One, do you have an academic award? Luckily for me, during my undergraduate program, I got the MTN scholarship. Okay, I ticked that box. The next thing was, do you have a publication? Guess what? Before I came for that interview, I was working at the university, Enugu State University, not an official lecturer. I was volunteering for free, but I was doing everything the lecturer was doing. And of course, that was a significant work experience. By the way, who even cares whether what you are doing is voluntary or paid? It's an experience. And you know the funny thing? A bulk of my essay, everything I was communicating was from that place. Oh, when I come back home, I'm going to help set up a better system in Enugu State University to help facilitate exchange of knowledge, collaborate with the vice chancellor, do a number of things. I genuinely meant it, of course. Those things can still be done now. It's just that I'm still in the process of studying anyways. But the point I'm trying to make was, I gave myself to those experiences because I needed to key into the need to meet all of these criteria, right? But while I was there, I met someone who told me who emphasized the importance of publication, and I got to publish my undergraduate project. I didn't even know this was going to come up during the application, but of course, I realized how important publication was. He gave me insight. I decided to publish my undergraduate project. I had only barely published this thing, and it was accepted like a month before the interview. And guess what? When I came there, the other thing they were asking for was, do you have an academic publication? I showed it as proof. I showed the hardcover, and guess I didn't even publish it as a journal. I published it as a book, but it was a scientific publication. It was about type 2 diabetes. That's it. I ticked their box. I had an academic award. I had a publication. I don't know if it's going to be the same for everyone. Everyone has got their unique experience, but I'm saying that these are extra things you want to do. Maybe you are still in school. You are looking to apply for this scholarship next year. Find a way to get a publication. Find a way to maybe academic award can be complicated right now, right? Depending on the stage. That, like for instance, as an undergraduate, there's some undergraduate scholarships you might no longer be able to apply for once you're above your year two, right? Or you're now in your year three. Yeah, that can be waived. But anything you can do to boost your chances, you want to do that. There's a session to list that, and you have to make it count. Then your employment history and its relevance to your prospective program. Don't go and tell me all the experience you've had while you were doing it. Those experience, are they significant to the program you are intending to study? If they are not significant, you don't have to share them. Be strategic about what you share in your employment history, whether they are paid or voluntary. Nobody cares whether it's voluntary, although there's a section in your application where you have to communicate your voluntary and leadership experience. That's very important. But if you've got your employment history, especially if they are relevant to the course you want to study, that's fine. I've had situations where people are asking, like, oh, what if I study biochemistry and I want to go for a master's in cybersecurity, for example? How do I switch? I think Chibuka also hinted that if you can justify in your personal statement why that is important, that makes sense. And God bless you if you already have work experience in that field, or at least you are volunteering or doing something to show your interest in cybersecurity. You make the transition way easy for yourself. Okay, so yeah, all of those things matters. I don't want to go into references again because I've mentioned that and how strategic you should make your references be. Okay. Then the development impact essays, which is a central theme to what Commonwealth is all about, right? One of the first questions they ask in that session is how your study relates to a development issue at a global, national, and local level, and its connection to the CSC team. Okay. This is something you have to take your time. I don't know how people sit down in 1 day, 2 days, they just write up their essays. When a scholarship starts, in fact, even before Commonwealth Scholarship started, I had a list, I had the application form with me, and I read through all the essays. Sometimes before I sat down to write, I spent months, weeks, thinking about the best story to show, to demonstrate my eligibility for that specific criteria. It's important because you have to show by storytelling, not just write that I can do this, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Not just say things like that. You have to show by storytelling. And so sometimes it's important that you think. You'll be shocked as to the depth of experience you've got that you can put on this paper. Okay, I'm mindful of time. I realize it's 9, but okay, of course, I started like 5 minutes or 7 minutes past the normal time. So I guess I can take back that 5 to 7
Yes,
minutes.
please.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you want to show by storytelling. How does what you want to study relate to a development need or a global need or a national need in your home country? Those things matter. How would you apply your learned skills after the award? Again, I gave you an example, like because as at the time I was applying for this scholarship, I was affiliated with Enugu State University back in Nigeria, and most of what I was writing, the plans that I had for the future was when I come back, I will be able to contribute to this, to sharing knowledge in this specific field, in the field of molecular biology, which Nigeria at the moment we don't thrive so much in terms of like CRISPR editing, gene editing, and all of those stuff. That's my specialty in cancer research, right? And we don't do so much of that, right? So it was going to be a significant contribution to knowledge sharing as it were. And those are some of the things that I communicated in my essays. So you want to find your unique selling point and stay on that. And as Chebuka also mentioned, while ChatGPT or AI tools can help frame your thought, you don't want to rely on the content they generate completely for your essay because no two persons are the same, right? And how the extent to which you personalize your story, personalize your essay to the point that it cannot be replicated by somebody else, the higher your chances. And sometimes your stories do not always have to sound overwhelming. You don't have to have gone to the US and done a conference with Donald Trump, invited the presidents of all the world together. You don't have to have, you must not have done all of those things. The little things you do in your community, that time you had an opportunity in that rural environment to do maybe a sensitization program to communicate the importance of safety I don't know. I'm just trying to give you an example off my head. The importance of eating healthy, taking good food. I'm just saying it could be as small as that, but how you share it with the enthusiasm, with the passion, it could bring a whole new dimension to your story. And by so doing, you are occupying a unique spot for the scholarship. And that's how you get it. Other notable questions include awards, objective questions around the award objectives, career plans over 5 years, long-term career plans, detailed plan of study, voluntary and leadership experience. These are other things they ask you. Personal statement, something a bit more personal about your background and all of that. Okay, so having said this, really, the whole purpose and one of the things you should never forget is this. Sometimes I take weeks. I've read the scholarship. I see if I'm applying for a scholarship, I don't miss any detail on the website, including eligibility criteria, selection process. I make my notes to strategically position myself in line with the scholarship's vision. And so this is why I say here, for application to scholarship, anyone, including Commonwealth Masters, be intentionally visionary and know the scholarship's mission and merge your vision with the mission together. That's how you become a strong candidate. I gave you an example earlier. I cannot be telling the scholarship committee, the CSC, the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission committee in my application that I want to study a program that will help me become the next prime minister in the UK, when the scholarship's focus and mission is on how you study a program that can impact your home country. So you see that there's a strong disconnect because you have not read the details of the process you want to apply for, the scholarship details of the scholarship application details you are applying, you are making applications for. You miss out on some of these opportunities. So you have to take time to do this. Sometimes I go back weeks, days, just reading over it to make sure that I familiarize myself with the details of the program. And back when I was applying for 1986 scholarship program in Stanford, I so wanted this program for like 4 years straight. I was applying for it, and I'm glad I didn't eventually get it, but I'm happy with where I am now. These are some of the things they were looking for, people with civic mindsets that have got independence of thought. I synthesized those processes, and they were like, I can literally regurgitate them to you off my head because I was in and out of videos with previous scholars just so that I was saying something. I've said this several times, and if you have listened to me in any webinar before, I've said this, and I've not said it in this webinar. I say it in all my scholarship webinars. It takes a scholar to get a scholarship. The whole process of applying for scholarships is to shape your thoughts to first becoming a scholar that can get a scholarship. The scholarship does not make you a scholar. You first become a scholar by how you have. I can't explain it. I can't find the words to explain it. But you first have to, in the process of applying, that's why I said, I made a statement earlier when I started that even if I had not gotten the scholarship, the process of applying has made me a better person. It has refined my thought processes. It has refined my vision and approach for life. That is what we are talking about. You have to first be a scholar up here to be a scholar with most of these scholarships, right? And this is why I want to end really by saying that getting a scholarship is a significant result, and it don't just happen to us. They happen with us. It is about giving the world an opportunity to hear your story in a unique way. It's about rediscovering and reinventing yourself. So, guys, it might be demanding, but if you really want this, find a way to enjoy the process. I applied for several scholarships, even though Commonwealth Scholarship and Chevening were like my top scholarships, right? This is like the end. I applied for a lot of scholarship, including very unpopular scholarships, as Chibuka was mentioning, because sometimes your chances with those scholarships could be high. But you don't have to wait for 𝐶𝐍𝐍𝐻𝐿𝑍𝑖nx to share it on the WhatsApp platform. That's for those of us that are really engaging with the platform, really. I was going on media. Sometimes I like this school in Canada. I went to Canada. I was searching this particular school in Canada. I discovered that just getting admission to that course was going to be funded. You would never see it advertised anywhere else. I just became so, not obsessed, but I just became so interested in scholarships that I was just randomly Googling up schools. And this is something I would encourage you to do. When you browse a particular university, whether in the UK, US, look out for potential fees and funding options available at that university so that you can find those unannounced and unpopular scholarships that you can use. I have friends in the UK whose name I can't mention, doing programs in UCL, even one of the panelists who will be coming here shortly, Good News, who had like Alan Nestor scholarship. As at the time he got Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, he got that scholarship as well. He waived that one and chose Commonwealth Scholarship. But guess what? The next year he reapplied for that scholarship and he still got it. You get the point. So I'm saying this to say that it's either you want this or you don't. And Chibuka mentioned something earlier when he started. It's either you are in or out. So if you are not ready, just maybe it's safe to find a different space. But if you are, surely this is the right place to be. I wish you the best of luck with your scholarship application journey, and let's get the questions rolling in. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you very much. Can we really say a very big thank you to our speakers? This is a lot of value. Honestly, I wish I got this kind of insight when I was applying for my scholarship. I wish I had a boot camp like this, when I was applying for scholarship. But yeah, I was really, really so excited to hear our speakers and their experiences, hear your stories, and see how you've how far you've come in your journey. And I'm sure a lot of aspiring scholars who are year to ninth, they are inspired and they are encouraged in their journey. So please say a very big thank you on the chat. I can see a lot of thank you, thanks a million, thank you, SARS. And yeah, a lot of persons are really, really so grateful for your stories, grateful for you being here. So thank you. All right, so we'll jump straight into the question and answer section. So please drop your questions on the chat. We're yet to respond to your questions. Our scholars are here, our speakers are here to just help to provide as much support from their experiences and from their knowledge to us all. So please and please continue to drop your questions. So I'll go straight to some of the questions we have here on the chat already. Yeah, so we have a question from Agun. Agun is asking, I'm planning on going for my master's next year, September. Can I start applying for a scholarship now? Because you said something on having your conditional admission later before the deadline of the scholarship. So, David, do you want to answer that question for us, please?
Yeah, it depends on the specific scholarship, for example, you are aiming at, right? So let's say, for example, you want to apply for maybe Commonwealth Masters Scholarship. The thing is, if you apply for admission now for a university, for a master's program, you would end up getting it, you know, next year. Of course, that's the whole idea. Those who are applying for Commonwealth scholarships now, they are applying to get in next year, September, right? So if you want admission, if you want to get a scholarship next year, this is the year to start applying for your master's, like the university admission, so that you could use that to get a scholarship or maybe even find a scholarship in that university. So yeah, you're in the right place and you want to get your document ready. But as we have been emphasizing on this bootcamp, you don't have any business starting a scholarship or a university application if you don't have your documents ready. That's why that's the most important thing. Get your international passport, get your certificate, get your transcript if you can. In fact, there's something called interim. I don't know how many universities allow that, but before I even got my official transcript, I got conditional offers with what I called interim transcript. Like my university published most of my results online, so I compiled that into a PDF, and I was using that to get admission even before I got my official transcript because those things sometimes take a while. So yeah, it's all about being strategic and starting early. If you are looking to get a scholarship next year, this is the best time to actually start. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, so next question is from Debbie. Again, I think this is about recommendation letter, but I think we'd love to hear Mr. 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐾�'s response or thoughts about recommendation letter. So we'll direct this question to you, Mr. 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐾. All right, the question is from Debbie, and she's asking, sir, you made mention of recommendation letter. What if you are not in any institution now? How do you tend to get recommendations from your lecturers? Mr. 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐾, do you want to give us your
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. David, thank you so much. And thank you for the question. It's a bit vague. If she's not in any institution now, what does that mean? Did she not attend any institution prior to the application or what? It's a bit confusing. If she's speaking about, if she's emphasizing on the fact that maybe she has graduated or something, of course, most of the applications people make is usually after graduation. And once you've graduated, if you have established that relationship with your lecturers before graduating or your head of department, because sometimes you can just get head of departments are always willing to write, though that sounds more generic sort of, because when you have those recommendation letters, as David said, those letters comes as to whom it may concern. So if she's not currently in any institution, I'm believing she implied being a graduate, she can always reach out to her lecturers and get her recommendation letter. So she should, yeah, she really needs to be careful. Else, if she gets generic recommendation letters, that would definitely affect her negatively.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your
No problem.
perspective on that. So please, scholars, if you want to get really good clarity from our scholars, make your questions as clear as possible. and so it's more directed to you. But thank you so much, Mr. 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐾, for that. The next question is from Manuela. Manuela is asking, can you get a Commonwealth scholarship with just one publication? Can you get a Commonwealth scholarship with just one publication?
Sorry, I can just quickly comment. I got mine with just one publication. You can even get without any publication. It's just when you've got these publications, your chances are higher, you know. You just want to keep doing things that will boost your chances, and that's basically the goal. I want to quickly comment briefly on the reference question earlier, right? It's very important. So when I was again, like 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐾 accurately answered, you probably have graduated, and maybe that's why you're asking the question. And this is why you want to lean in back to the relationship you had with your previous supervisors. And sometimes the more personal if the person has had a personal relationship with you, let's say like your supervisor of your project, that's like the number one person you should even think of. If you ever did a project in school, who was your supervisor? That's the first person you should reach out to. At least they know you personally before you now talk about maybe head of department and other lecturers. I had quite a number of them, but I remember when I was asking them for like references, because I was applying for a lot of scholarship and some of these things are demanding. And if you are not sending to whom it may concern, this is becoming a phrase in this bootcamp. If you're not sending to whom it may concern and you want it customized, right? You have to make sure that you have quite a number of references. Because one of my referees turned me down at some point. He was like, David, this application is a bit too much. Sorry, I can't continue. Can you ask somebody else? It's cold, but that is what you have. So you have to keep your options open and you have to lean back into those relationships you have previously had. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. I think I will just compile some of the questions together because they look a bit similar. So the next question is from Didi. Please, I am a graduate, but I didn't get any award. Do I still have an edge? And the next question is from Lawrence. Lawrence is asking, please, do you need your original certificate to apply for the CSC?
Okay. As David clearly stated earlier, you work with unofficial document. He called it interim. People call it unofficial. And for certificates, you can, of course, when you graduate, you have your certificate. All you have to do is to scan and have soft copies of all your documents. If the university needs to verify anything, they will Commonwealth will communicate directly with the university and not with you. But it's essential to have all your unofficial certificates. Certificates are always official. Transcripts will always be unofficial. Whatever that comes directly from the university is what they consider official. Whatever you upload, it's not really official. So yeah, you can always work with what you have. So he should have his certificate and apply.
Great.
And the other question you mentioned was the one before the certificate was...
Yes, please, I'm a graduate, but I didn't get any award. Do I still have an edge?
Of course. There are so many people who got Commonwealth Scholarship without any specific award, so to say. You can always get it. Your story will reflect a lot of things. You mustn't necessarily get a specific award to secure Commonwealth. Commonwealth Scholarship considers a lot of things. So yes, you still stand a chance to get that, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So please don't let any document that you may not have, for example, a publication or an award, hold you back. The key thing is, like David said at the beginning, scholarship make you better. Like the application itself helps you to discover yourself, helps you to learn about yourself, and it's really just going to help you become better in your next application. So please don't let it hold you back. All right, the next question is from Kinsley. Okay, I think we've answered this question about publication, so I'm going to skip to the next question by Charity. Talking about 2 years professional experience, does that mean I must have a professional experience before being eligible for Commonwealth or Shevlin scholarship?
Just to quickly hint here, it's Shevlin that specifically mentions that you need that level of experience. And I think they kind of made it a bit more strict this year that you need to have that. It's not for Commonwealth. Commonwealth does not specifically mention you need to have that level of experience. So it's fine. Again, this is how I mentioned earlier that you want to make sure sometimes you you emphasize your strengths and you try to strengthen your essays in other areas when you know you are not strong in specific areas. Let's say, for example, as Shebuka mentioned earlier, you don't have that award. There are other things you could show. If you can maybe get a publication fund, even if you don't have that, make sure your essays are tight, get people to review it, get quality reference. All those things can boost your chances in other ways, right? So yeah, you don't have to lean on specifically on one aspect that you feel like you're not strong in. And even with that experience, sometimes you could even start volunteering now. Go to a company of interest that you feel reflects what you want to study and just be a part of them and start, if you can, there are lots of volunteering opportunities now. You want to do that. I just really want to quickly lean on this because I think it's also related to what we are asking right now. Somebody's like, is sorry, like he's about starting his BSc, but he doesn't have like his certificate. And I think we addressed it earlier, as we said, even if you don't have a certificate, if you've got something you can show to show that you have graduated, at least you can put it. Some people have got statement of results. I used that even if I got my certificate. Since you can get it in November, good for you. But yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. I think we're going to run with the speed of light because we have less than 10 minutes. This question is from 𝐒𝐿𝐕𝐄. Says, thank you, sir. My question is about the nomination agencies for Commonwealth Scholarship. Please, can you emphasize more on this? Which agency is more easier, the FSB or NGOs, and how do we go about it?
Yeah, that's David. I got shared. So
Okay, yeah, that's true. So I wanted to say something very interesting right now. I was going to say this, but again, I don't. You might not have the religious inclination to understand. I wanted to say, be led by the Spirit. Well, I think the bottom line really is you never really know. Again, I wasn't sure how to get or meet the eligibility criteria of other NGOs who were nominating people. Of course, for instance, I've heard about Farway. They are specific about women who wants to do some certain programs as it were. But I don't know how, of course, I'm a man. That obviously doesn't apply to me, right? But everybody has got a national nomination agency, and that's your safest bet. You understand? You've got a national nomination agency. You can apply through them. You get that, and they've got on the website, I think CSC even links you to those nomination agencies website to see the specific eligibility criteria that they mentioned. And I hinted you one. For example, Nigeria specifically requires that you have NYC. Does that mean, oh, I don't have NYC, should I not apply? You can just give it a chance. My own is, you don't get it this year. The process of applying has prepared, like I applied for Commonwealth Scholarship and I got it on my second attempt. But when I was done, in fact, I told myself by the time I was done applying the first time, I was not going to give myself the scholarship. If I were, I was not going to give myself a scholarship because I felt like I didn't do enough. So, but that process prepared me, even though some of my documents were not complete. I was even still in NYC, so I didn't even have NYC certificate then. You get, so give it a try. You never know, right? So yeah, I can't tell you which one increases your chances. Just be led, go with your instincts, and sometimes just go with your national nomination agency if you can't meet the criteria for other ones. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. This question is by Wisdom, and Wisdom is asking, what about HND holders? Can they still apply for the MSc scholarship? Is Commonwealth open for HND holders?
I think on the website it clearly stated, it's clear that you're not eligible. Sometimes I would always preach, if you consider yourself not eligible, don't stress, don't even apply. But if you want to have that leap of faith, you can, but ensure that with your HND, you're coming with robust application. Like you must have fully immersed yourself in well-aligned activities to support your application. That's the only thing that might even make them change next year. Maybe they might say, okay, HND with considerable experience. Your application might even lead to a transformation in CSCs. So it's all up to you. Normally, I wouldn't bother applying, but if you know that you have supported yourself with loads of solid experiences, why not just fire on?
Awesome. Thank you. This question is by Annie. Annie is asking, are there interviews for those that have been shortlisted for the Commonwealth scholarships?
Interestingly, I don't know how it works with other countries, but interestingly in Nigeria, if you have applied for the scholarship, you are automatically shortlisted. In fact, this is also very important that you know it. For some reason, and I'm going to say this, right? So I think CSC or the criteria for Federal Scholarship Board requires that you send them an email with your documents and all of that. They ideally should write back to you to tell you when the nomination interview is going to be, but unfortunately, you might never really hear back from them. So you have to follow up on their website and pay and have close friends. If you know people who are applying for scholarship, be them. Thank God you are in 𝐶𝐍𝐍𝐻's platform. When those information gets to the team, they can communicate it to you, right? So those things matters. But I think everybody who chooses Federal Scholarship Board gets invited for the interview. In fact, they do the interview by region. They could say those in the northern region of Nigeria, those in the south, this is your date, this is your time. And then when you come, you do the clearance, you show your documents, and then you are slotted and assigned to a room for interview. So basically, everybody that chose them gets interviewed. So that's the good part, but it's all about how you ace the questions. And the interview questions are mostly around sometimes current affairs, specific about the program you want to study, your research interests, those kind of stuff. So yeah, but you have to be on the lookout if you choose Federal Scholarship Board for when they are going to be doing the nomination interview. I think they usually do it sharp. I think sometime in November, or it's usually in November, but you never really know. So be on the lookout. That's my best advice.
Thank you very much. Next question is by Precious. Precious is asking for the Commonwealth Masters Scholarship, what courses are eligible? Is it the same eligible courses on the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship or any master's course in the UK? And how do we confirm the eligible courses specifically for the Commonwealth Masters Scholarship? And do all courses have to be from the same team?
Can I comment on this, Chibuka?
Okay.
Yeah, I think the thing with Commonwealth Masters is you can choose any course in the UK. You can choose any university in the UK. You've got three options. Some people decide to go with one school, choose three different similar programs in that school. Some people go with three different schools, but similar courses in that school. You get the point. And for example, you can't be saying you want to do, maybe for instance, you're applying for MSc in genetics, and then you are choosing different CSC team. You are going to choose climate change. I've forgotten the teams. You are choosing inclusion and poverty. It doesn't match. So science and technology for development, your team should be the same. I don't know why your team should change. If you are coming and you want to do a science related course, your team should be central. I think CSC doesn't allow you to choose more than one team actually. But in that team, you can have multiple programs that are similar. You understand? So it's all about having a proper research focus, but you can choose any school, any course, and that's it really. I don't know if Chibuka has additional comments to make.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So Mundi is asking, please, for the Commonwealth Scholarship, do we need 2 years experience from after school, or can you use the ones you had maybe during school, because Chevening scholarships need the experience after school?
Well, you see, these things, many applications, it depends on how you package your application, right? If you find that your engagement during your uni days is well aligned with your application, you can use that, but it needs to be really solid. That's the most important thing, and it needs to be well aligned. Somebody was also asking right here from the chat, volunteer work is good and it should be. Yes, volunteer work is good, and it has to be related to what you're applying. There are so many volunteer jobs. If Dave is working with cancer research volunteer, that's in line with what he's doing. I can't go now and I'm doing quantum volunteer. Meanwhile, I want to do something in mass communication. It's not aligned. So everything must be aligned. And yes, if the only experience the person has is during the university days, that's okay. I mean, just be open for rejection. Next year you try again. You just learn from that. Yes.
All right, thank you. We're going to answer just one more final question because we're almost out of time. This question is from Favor. Favor is asking, please, sir, if the area of my publication is not related to the course I want to apply for in the scholarship, do I still have an edge?
Don't put it. That's all. Don't include the publication. Why? You would actually put yourself in more trouble. Why did you publish in that field in the first place if it's not related? You know, don't include that. It's not necessary. You lose your points rather than gaining points.
Awesome. So I think we've answered that question Choma just dropped. Choma was asking if my area of application is different from the course I want to apply for. Will it affect me? So to increase your chances, we really advise, because there is a large pool of applicants, and the easiest way to get your application, ignored is by not being coherent in your application. So your essay should be coherent. They should all drive to a common idea that you're trying to sell to the viewers or the judge. So do your best as possible to give it a shot, Don't say because of that, oh, you're not going to apply. Again, like the scholars have been reiterating from the start, most of these scholarships actually help your next application to be better. I, for myself, for example, like the scholarship I got was one that I got after applying for a lot of other scholarships, and I just kept on refining, I just kept on getting better. And eventually it was the last few ones I applied for, the second to last one I applied for that actually came out. So please and please don't shoot yourself in the leg by not applying. Just give it a shot and see how far it will take you. Okay, with that said, I think we're going to wrap up the webinar, and I will just give some.
Can I just quickly say something? Just
yes, please.
So please, just so you know, even though that I have secured a couple of scholarships, the amount of rejections I've gotten outweighs what I've secured. I have had more than 50 US admissions without funding. Just bear that in mind. Be prepared for rejection. It is not failure, but just a step closer to your yes.
And just to comment also, lastly, like my final words on that same rejection topic, really is rejections just give you an opportunity to try again. And you really don't fail because you got rejected. You just have not succeeded yet. They are two different things. And that's what you should bear in mind. Somebody was asking on the chat, and I just want to quickly comment on this. What if you don't get any admission? Would you still get a scholarship? It's not possible. And this is why I was saying that you want to calculate the risk, right? Apply to schools that are up and low in the ranking to increase your chances. Thank God Commonwealth Masters gives you 3 opportunities. Apply wisdom. Use that well. You don't have to be choosing Oxford University, Cambridge, and Imperial. In your 3 choices, when you know that those schools are very competitive, so those are the things you really want to do. But if you don't have admission, there is no way you are getting the scholarship. I wish you guys the best, really.
Thank you. Really, really want to say a very big thank you. So can we just drop on the chat and thank our scholars? The final words they shared was literally like what we needed to hear, because after all the ginger we've received, after all the knowledge we've received, when rejection or if rejection comes, it should not deter us from taking another step. So please see rejection as an opportunity to refine your application. And I think some people call it love letter. They don't call it rejections anymore to make it, feel a bit better. But again, the idea is the same. You're just a step closer to your yes. All you need is just 1 yes. You don't need like a million yeses. And, before that 1 yes could come, it could take a number of, trying and pushing. So a very big thank you to our scholars. I really, really believe that a lot of us have gotten value. We found this section valuable. We found this speaking valuable. So let me quickly share my screen. Is my screen sharing? Because I can't even see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Great, thank you. So again, the bootcamp continues. Our next section is happening on the 19th of October. Remember, the bootcamp we're having webinars once every 2 weeks to just ensure that we get to give you enough time to implement what you learned for each webinar rather than bombarding you at once. So we're going to be having 2 Commonwealth shared scholars coming to speak to us on the 19th of October, same time, 8 p.m. West African time to 9:30 p.m. West African time. Our topic is everything you need to know about the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. And also our speakers will be talking about how to build a personal brand as a scholar, because a lot of us are not aware of how personal branding also plays in scholarship, because we just think, oh, personal brand is about marketing, you know, every marketer wants to have a personal brand. But no, as a scholar, you also need to have a personal brand. And our speakers will be having a workshop on that, in addition to the main theme and the main topic, which is about the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. So ensure you keep it on your calendar and ensure you don't miss out. So this is just webinar 3 of the bootcamp. We have a number of scholars also coming to speak to us in the 11-week bootcamp that we're currently hosting.